Miami real estate should be local. If your realtor can't show your real estate in a golf cart, this is probably not the neighborhood they specialize in.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Harry Gottlieb, and you are watching The Pillars of the Community, where we celebrate the individuals, businesses, institutions, and organizations that support and benefit our community. Today, we have two special guests from Tropical Audubon Society that want to share with you the importance of nature, the importance of birds, and to let you know about the various activities that they're involved with and the concerts that they have and the ways that you can get involved with them if you wish to volunteer or you wish to donate funds to keep them going. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Brian and Daniel.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about yourselves and how did you get involved with the Audubon Society? Where did you come from, first of all?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Daniel John Mlodzeniec. I'd go by DJ. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. I've been an environmental person pretty much my entire life. I went to the university at Buffalo, and that's where I took a course during my environmental studies program that had me in Everglades National Park for a week. And this was in 2017. It was the first time I had seen alligators and such, and I was hooked. So it was always my intention to come back and work here someday. So that's how I got here, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're happy that you're here, and we hope that you enjoy being down here in South Florida, especially now that it's hurricane season, and the winds are going to be coming, and the humidity is going to be here. So we want you to enjoy it as much as possible, and tell all your friends to come down here when it's cooler weather. So tell us about yourself and what have you been up to? I understand you've been recently in Panama, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. My name is Brian Rapoza. I'm the field trip coordinator for Tropical Audubon Society. I'm also on Tropical Audubon's board of directors. I've held those positions on the board of directors and as field trip coordinator since 2001. So this is my 25th anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. As field trip coordinator, I organize and lead birding field trips here in South Florida, sometimes to other parts of Florida, North Florida, places like that. I've done field trips to other states, California, Minnesota, Maine, all over the United States. And for the last 20 years or so, I've also been leading international trips. I've led trips in Central and South America. As you mentioned, my latest trip in April was to Panama. I'm going to be leading a trip to Ecuador next summer, the summer of 2027. And we just arranged that trip a month or so ago. So I'll be hoping that 10 people, at least as many as 10 people can join me on that trip.
Will you be getting to the Galapagos?
Not on this particular trip. This trip will be on both sides of the Andes. So we'll be spending about half of the trip on the western side and then the second half on the eastern side of the Andes in Ecuador. So we have an opportunity to see hundreds and hundreds of species of birds on that trip. So those trips are all advertised on Tropical Audubon's website, which is tropicalaudubon.org. So if anyone wants to join me on the Ecuador trip or any of the trips that we schedule during the course of the year, they just go to our website and click on the register button.
Will you be invited to go on this trip?
Hopefully.
Well, maybe this will induce him to do so. So tell us a little bit about the history of Audubon and how did he become a painter and how did he specialize in birds?
So I don't know if Brian, you wanted to chime in first, then I'll fill any gaps that I see here. But if you wanted to begin with that.
Yeah, sure. I can talk a little bit about John James Audubon first.
Yes.
He is the man that Audubon has borrowed his name. So John James Audubon was born in Haiti. He's of French descent, and he eventually migrated to the United States in the I believe in the late 1700s, early 1800s. And he devoted his life to both collecting, studying, and painting the birds of North America. So he eventually published his paintings, and he became famous as one of the first people to really bring attention to the great diversity of birds in all over North America. So when Audubon chapters started to form in the early 1900s as a result of the killing of birds to collect their feathers.
For what purpose?
Those feathers were used primarily in the hats that ladies used to wear in that period of time. So
This is the Victorian period, correct?
yeah, the late 1800s until the early 1900s. And so many birds were killed to the point, almost to the point of extinction. So people began to realize that when the birds started to disappear, that something needed to be done.
They were missed.
Absolutely. So they began to organize and trying to stop the plume hunters from killing these birds. So organizations started first in Massachusetts, and then they eventually spread all through the United States. So now we still use the Audubon name to represent our organization, but we are now focused on all sorts of conservation issues that are related to birds.
And just to kind of tie in our history with that, the Coconut Grove Audubon Society started in Dade County. It was the first chapter of Audubon in Dade County. That was in 1915. And then that was very much a result of to advocate against plume hunting and protecting birds in general. But during World War II, it actually disbanded in 1942. And then some of the key players in the Coconut Grove Audubon Society and other members of the community then reconverged in 1947 to establish what is now Tropical Audubon Society, who we are with. So that's kind of how our history branches off from the overall Audubon history Brian laid out.
That's very interesting. I live in Coconut Grove, and I was really not aware that there was a Coconut Grove Audubon Society. So I'm so pleased that you regrouped and that you're very successful down here in South Miami. I must tell you that I recently discovered the Audubon because of my connection with Bruce Turkel. Bruce Turkel is a gentleman that I've known for many, many years, and he specializes in corporate branding lectures. And he also plays harmonica, and he performed at one of your concerts. And he suggested that I go and visit your facility, because I could hear his music played, which I love. And I'd be really impressed with the architecture of the building that is called
Yeah, the Doc Thomas House.
The Doc Thomas House. So I want to talk about that. That house was built back in the 30s, I believe, and it's an all Dade County pine.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Try to describe that to our listeners.
Sure. Yeah. So it's kind of funny if you're driving down Sunset and you drive past, you're going through downtown South Miami, you're seeing modern buildings and such. And then all of a sudden there's what looks like a wooden cottage. And that's our historic Doc Thomas House. You were right. It was built in 1931 and 1932. It was the residence of a man named Arden Hayes Thomas, who would be known as Doc Thomas. He was a pharmacist that worked just down the street in the area. And he was a man of adventure. He very much had a conservation-minded spirit. I believe he was a National Audubon member, and he ended up deeding the property that he was on, which is now our Steinberg Nature Center. It's 2.2 acres, as well as the house, to Tropical Audubon Society. So then Tropical Audubon formally took over the premises in 1976, 50 years ago from this spring, and it has been operating as our headquarters since. And it is a really interesting building. The architecture behind it is pretty unique, especially for that area. And most of the wood is cypress, so it's really cool. It's kind of like the swamp tree. And again, it sits on this nice 2.2 acre nature campus that essentially is an island of green space surrounded by a concrete jungle. So you can imagine that if you're a migrating bird or something along those lines, you're going to want to stop there as opposed to one of the buildings around it. So it's an interesting site. And if you want to learn more about the historic house, Doc Thomas or any of that, we do have our historic Doc Thomas house tours that are on the first Saturday of every month.
Sign me up. Sign me up. I want to go.
And our board historian, who leads most of them, is a wealth of knowledge about everything to do with Doc Thomas, his life, and the history of that location. So it's a great thing to see.
So when I arrived at the location, I strolled around and I went in the back because that's where the concert was taking place. And it was this huge expanse, which I had no idea was that large. And it was all fenced in, and it was really thick with foliage. It reminded me a little bit of Simpson Park up near the Brickell area. And it was really a wonderful experience, and there were some birds in there. So you don't have to go very far if you want to see birds. But the other day I was riding my bike in front of the building, and I was a little disappointed to see that the fence and the mailbox are in a little bit kind of a worn condition. And I think that you could really enhance the facility by putting a white picket fence up there and maybe changing the mailbox. But I like the fact that there was some sort of a plaque in the front that would explain about the history of the property. And it's very conveniently located for anybody that's down this way. It's very close to 57th Avenue. I think it's like 55th Avenue and Sunset.
Correct.
And again, you can pass by it in a blink of an eye and not know it's there, but it is so worthwhile going in that I highly recommend that anybody that's down this way look it up. So tell us a little bit about bird strikes. A friend of mine that lives in Seattle is a birder. I think they're called birders. And she was very concerned about the birds that strike into windows, whether it's a house or whether it's an apartment building or an office. And I believe that you are involved, correct, with that, and you've been able to resolve some of those issues?
Well, I mean, I became aware of bird window collisions as an issue probably about 20 years ago. But it wasn't until about 5 or 6 years ago that I was able to convince Tropical Audubon Society that it was an issue that we should be addressing. So many Audubon chapters throughout the United States, about 50 different chapters, have a program called Lights Out, which light pollution exacerbates window collisions. So when birds migrate, especially songbirds, they migrate at night. And if they are migrating at night over a large urban area, they can become disoriented by all of the artificial lights that they see over big cities. So that will make them look for some place to land, and they won't continue their migration until the next night. And what happens is in the morning, when they are ready to begin flying again, they encounter tall buildings with windows with large reflective surfaces. And those windows will reflect the vegetation that surrounds the buildings. So the birds really can't tell the difference between the actual vegetation and the reflection of the vegetation. And that's how they end up colliding with windows. So studies have shown that over 1 billion birds die as a result of window collisions in North America every single year. So these Lights Out programs, basically they have a couple of different components. Number one is to try to reduce the light pollution. But the second component of many Lights Out programs, including Tropical Audubon's, is to try to make windows less reflective. So you can put what are referred to as window applications. They're adhesive film that you place on the windows, and the most effective window applications have dots on the adhesive material that's spaced about 2 inches apart. And when you place that adhesive material on a window, it reduces the reflectivity of the window by about 95%. And it reduces the likelihood of window collisions by about 95%.
Wow.
So this is a solvable problem. So DJ and I are going to be meeting on Zoom with some students that have become aware of the window collision problem.
Are these architect students?
No, these are students at Aventura High School.
Yes. Yeah.
And so they contacted us because they want to partner with us to try to let us know what they've been doing to try to reduce window collisions. And we would like to use their story, the work that they've been doing, as an example to other schools or just to people in general, again, that this is a solvable problem, that if you're a homeowner, if you're a school, if it's a large office building, and if you're experiencing window collisions, if birds are colliding with windows of your building, there's a very simple way of reducing or even eliminating the problem. So we want to work with these students to try to encourage other people to do the same. We have window applications on windows at the Doc Thomas House. So when people come to the Doc Thomas House, they can see the window applications. There's a little description of what the window applications are there for, and they can just order the window applications, that film that you put over the windows, and you can do it. They can do it to their own windows.
So are you reaching out to architectural firms? Are you reaching out to schools like the University of Miami that has an architectural program? Are you reaching out to developers? Is there legislation going to be involved in making sure that the windows, especially in office building, in tall office building and skyscrapers, are not reflective, that are causing bird strikes?
All of those things. Many of the Audubon chapters that have lights out programs are promoting ordinances. Our focus right now, our original focus was to try to collect bird collision data. So we've been collecting bird collision data. We now know that we know what we already assumed was happening, that bird collisions are a problem here in Miami, just like in most other cities. So I met with some students from the University of Miami, again, virtually, a Zoom meeting with them a couple of months ago to talk about bird collisions that have been taking place on the campus of University of Miami. So trying to encourage the students there to work with with the faculty and with the administration at the university to try to identify the most problematic buildings, and they're aware of the window applications. So trying to get schools, universities, we're trying to identify the buildings that are problems and then educate them that there are simple ways to reduce or completely eliminate the problem.
So who's collecting the data on all this?
It's just regular citizen scientists, community scientists. We're encouraging people to, when they go out to walk their dog or things like that, if they see a dead bird that they suspect has collided with a window, they can submit that data to us through apps like iNaturalist, or there's actually an app called, or a website called dBird, which is a website specifically to report dead birds, whether it be birds that collided with windows or birds that were killed by outdoor cats or things like that. So I have access to the dBird website, to the data that's being submitted to dBird. I have access to the data that's submitted to iNaturalist. So I can identify where the problem areas are. And then our plan is to, contact the people that are responsible for those buildings and to let them know that their building is causing window collisions and encourage them to fix the problem by applying those window applications.
So the first group that is dangerous for the birds would be the windows, and the second would be cats.
It's about a tie score. Some research has suggested that the feral cat problem may be even a bigger problem than window collisions.
So what can be done about that?
For feral cats, the problem that's an easy problem to solve. If you're a cat owner, keep your cat indoors.
Very good.
It's not only is it better for the birds and other wildlife, but it's also better for the cats. The cats they get run over by cars.
Right.
They get into fights with cats and other wildlife. They're susceptible to diseases. So outdoor cats is a big problem, and sometimes it's very difficult to convince people that go and feed outdoor cats at our county parks and things like that it would be better to take those cats in and keep those cats indoors. Cats are not native to our environment. So it's much better not only for the cats, but for the birds and other wildlife, that cats, even someone's pet cat, they still have that instinct to try to catch a bird or other wildlife.
So why are birds important? Why do we need to see them? Why do we need to hear them sing? What if the world did not have birds? Would we be fine, or would we be in worse shape? Would we have ever discovered flying? If there were no birds to inspire us, would the Wright brothers and all the people that came before them, would they have been interested in flight? Could they have imagined building an airplane or building a balloon and going up in the sky if birds had not inspired us?
Yeah, I don't think a dragonfly would be quite as inspiring as an eagle or a type of bird as far as flight's concerned.
Or a seagull.
Yeah, something along those lines. But as far as why are protecting and conserving birds important, that's a topic that can be discussed for hours and hours. But I'll kind of simplify it. If you look at it from like an ecological perspective, right, everything's connected. John Muir said, if you pull one thing out of nature, you'll find it's connected to everything else. And that's the same case for birds. Think about the overall role that they play, right? So they're prey for animals, right? Animals eat birds. Some other birds eat birds. They're predators as well. They'll help control pests. They eat insects. They eat small mammals. They eat a lot of other animals. So they help balance the populations of other animals, but also think about the role they play in the world of botany. They distribute seeds. If a bird eats a seed from one area, it passes through the digestive system, and then they poop it out in a different area. So they play a huge role in seed dispersal. They're connected to the plant world in that way, right? So there's a lot of different roles that they play. Some are pollinators, helping to pollinate our plants and help them prosper. So if you look at it from an ecological perspective, you can't remove them. I mean, they're so intertwined in the greater ecological community.
They're vital.
They're vital, and they're an indicator, right? So if you're somewhere and the birds aren't doing well, especially more of the sensitive birds, then that's an indication that the ecological health of that area is not doing well.
Would that be like a canary in the
Exactly.
in the coal mine?
Yeah, I think that's where that saying came from, right? And then if you're somebody, the other thing too is birding is like the gateway to getting people outdoors. Brian, you've led bird walks for how many thousands of people by now throughout your life, and how many of those folks have maybe taken that bird walk that you took them on, and that's connected them to the plant world or a career in the environmental world in general. So it's a gateway to greater environmental work. And if you're somebody who doesn't care about birds at all, if you only care about money, birding is a driver of a multi-billion-dollar industry through the sales of optics, through travel, through expenses, lodging. So, I mean, you could talk about the benefits of it all day, depending on what type of a person you are and where your priorities are. Birds are important to you.
Very interesting. So we're going to be winding this down in just a couple of more minutes. But before we do, I want to share something with everybody. So there's been a lot of debates going on about the soccer matches, the football matches. There's been a lot of debates about the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C., about the algae and why it's there and why and how to get rid of it. But I think one of the most controversial issues right now that we have to deal with is, are you on team flamingo, or if you're on team, what's the other one? The other bird? The
Mockingbird is
the
our
mockingbird.
state
The
bird right
mockingbird is the state bird.
Yeah,
So
that's
are
the
you on?
incumbent champ?
Are you on team mockingbird or are you on team flamingo? This is a very important issue to a lot of people, and I know that there's a debate going on. But who should be in charge of this, and what should be the state bird? We already have a state bird, but maybe the flamingo could dethrone our state bird. Does the Audubon Society have a stake in this? Do they have a dog in this fight or not?
So as far as Tropical Audubon Society is concerned, we are just thrilled that these conversations are happening because whenever birds are of emphasis, that's important to us. And we love that because with that comes conservation talk and efforts. And regardless of what bird you're talking about, whether it's the scrub jay, mockingbird, or flamingo, there are greater conservation, initiatives behind those conversations. So we're just thrilled that it's in the conversation and we don't have a specific bird, as a choice. Personally, like if I'm going to metaphorically remove my Tropical Audubon hat, I see really good arguments for all three of them. And
which is the third one?
But there's the mockingbird, the current state bird, the Florida scrub jay, and then the flamingo, of course. But if I really had to pick one personally, I would think probably the Florida scrub jay.
I'm in the same camp.
What does the scrub jay look like? What does it compare to?
Well, you know what a blue jay looks like.
Yes.
So it's very similar to a blue jay. They're both in the same family.
Okay. But not as blue.
It's a different shade of blue.
Okay. So I live in Coconut Grove, and I spend a lot of time in Coral Gables, and it would seem to me that the peacock would be up there on the list.
But that's not native.
No.
Peacocks are from India.
Yes, but they are gorgeous. They are gorgeous. I was actually by the Venetian farmers market on Sunday, and there was a peacock, a male peacock, that was walking around the neighborhood, and people were standing as close as they could and taking pictures of it, waiting to see if it would show its plumes. And sure enough, it turned towards us and exhibited its plumes, which I believe is a mating ritual.
Correct.
And it was just breathtaking, and people were just having a great time watching this. I don't know who he was planning on mating with because it was just a bunch of people with strollers and bicycles.
Maybe he was showing off.
There were no females. Exactly. He was showing off. He was just entertaining us, but it was really wonderful. So we're going to wrap this up. Anything else you want to tell us about any events that are coming up and how to get in touch with you as far as volunteers are concerned?
Sure. Yeah. Brian mentioned our website is tropicalaudubon.org. You can find out about our various initiatives there. We do work on our historic grounds, the Steinberg Nature Center, so you can come join the bird-friendly gardening days. You can volunteer in that way, help volunteer at our events, whether it's our native plant sale or educational bird day. But I did want to flag, it's kind of a good segue because you brought up the state bird thing, that we are in partnership, and we're very thankful for the Tripping Animals Brewing Company. We're in partnership with them for their Everhaze for Florida initiative. So essentially what that means is that through July through September, for every case of their Everhaze beer, it's an IPA, that's sold, they will donate $1 to Tropical Audubon Society. So we're super excited about that. And to celebrate that partnership, we're having an event with them on September 4th at their location in Doral. And we will be joined by Ron McGill, and we will be joined by our executive director, Lauren Janitis, and they will be having great conversation about conservation wins, how people in Florida can get involved in conservation efforts, and they will be talking about the state bird status in Florida. So some of those conversations will be had as well. So
it'll be like a political forum. There'll be debates between the pro mockingbird and the pro flamingo.
Well, I would say more of a fireside chat rather than a debate. But again, Tropical Audubon is just thrilled that these conversations and the greater conservation implications behind them are happening. And some of that will be discussed at this event. So it's a great way to support us. Come meet like-minded people, have those conversations, and hope to see a lot of people on September 4th. It's going to be fun.
Please send me the announcement. I'd love to go and share with my friends. Yeah. And will Ron McGill be in costume? Will he be wearing a flamingo costume?
I'll have to ask him that.
I think that would be most appropriate.
Yeah, that would get a lot of people there, I bet.
Yes, I think so too. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank the viewers for watching. Please keep in mind that we're all community activists. We need to get involved with our community. We need to volunteer with certain organizations that will benefit our community. We want you to attend commission meetings. We want you to speak out on transportation, on the environment, on traffic, especially on zoning. We want you to do that. And last but not least, don't ask what your community can do for you, but what you can do for your community. Thank you all very much. We'll see you next time.